guarantee there's also going to be injury prevention. Get to work on these and make sure, never let off on technique or posture, and your athletes are going to definitely thank you for it. So now you've rolled out the Game Speed ladder and you have an understanding of postural cues and technical cues to look at. That doesn't mean you're ready to just start blasting through. There are a number of progressions that you still need to follow with your athletes, and I think it's very important as a coach that you understand them. The first one, or the simplest progression to understand, is easy drills to harder drills. Don't start with the sexier, more complex drills right off the bat. So we're going to show something called the Icky Shuffle today. It's one of the most popular ladder drills out there, but it's also very complex. If your kids can't do a regular bunny hop through the ladder yet, I'm not moving to the more advanced stuff. Let the advanced stuff be the treat that they get after they perform the other drills even better. After that, we're going to start talking about the second progression, and that's slow to fast. Every exercise should be performed in a slow and controlled manner first. Don't just let the kids start going wild and trying to do it as fast as they can, because when they do that, it's usually going to be wrong. Let the kids know what kind of performance you're looking for, what kind of technique you're going to demand, and then start off slowly. Perform it slowly and controlled, and then increase the speed only after the technique is proficient. And then finally, we're going to look at low to higher impact. There are going to be jumping drills, single leg activities. The higher the amplitude of the jump, or the less the base of support on a single leg, that's going to increase the stress on the athlete. Be aware of that. So start off easy, move to harder drills. Start off slow, get things faster, and start off with very low impact and then make it higher impact over time. You're not going to go to all the fancy stuff the first day in the ladder. Work up to stuff. And that variety is not only going to keep the kids excited, it's going to make sure that you're going to progress properly when you're using the Game Speed ladder. The final piece before we get into the exercises of actually using the Game Speed ladder is you have to understand the acute variables when using a ladder, and this is important. I talked about the Game Speed ladder as a barefoot ladder, that now you can train barefooted safely. But remember, depending on the surface that you have, it still determines whether you can go barefoot or not. So what I would recommend is if you're going to start doing some barefoot work, you better have a nice, soft, pliable surface. Today you can see that we're using a nice turf surface. You could also use grass or even some kind of AstroTurf if you have it on your field. But what I wouldn't recommend right off the bat is if you've only got hardwood floors or a hard track surface, make sure that the kids are still keeping their shoes on. I still think the advantages of training barefoot are incredible, but you can't injure your kids just to try to achieve that. The next variable is volume and intensity. The ladder can be a very taxing event. Remember, this is change of direction. There's a lot of jumping, it's plyometric, there's a lot of eccentric tensions that are placed through the athletes. So monitor how many repetitions you're doing of each exercise, and then how many total sets that you're using the ladder for. So if you're doing an exercise, I don't recommend that you do more than 2 or 3 repetitions of each type of exercise. And I really wouldn't go over more than 20 to 25 sets through the ladder. Anything more than that, you're going to start breaking your athletes down and motor programs are going to start to diminish. In addition to that, when we look at volume, then we have to also look at the time frame, which creates the density. Make sure that you've got some rest periods in there as well too. So when an athlete blasts through the ladder, don't just have them blast back and blast back again, because now it's turned into an anaerobic event where the kids are going to start to fall apart. Like any change of direction exercise, make sure that there's enough rest in between. So an athlete might go through the ladder and it takes 5 or 10 seconds. Rest 15 or 30 seconds before you pass through again. We're going to show you how to do that by actually going through the ladder, making sure that you've walked all the way back, stopped, and then passed through again. Because coaches, we're looking for technique here. Any coach, I've always said it, if you make a kid so tired that he can't perform or he's throwing up, that doesn't mean you're tough, that means you're a bad coach. We're looking for great technique here on how to perform these drills. So the volume of how much we're doing, and then that coupled with the time frame creates the density. I don't think you should be using a ladder for more than 30 minutes. So under 30 minutes at least, this can be something that you can complete in 10 or 15. If you're doing ladder workouts for 2 hours, you are not getting benefits, you're wearing your athletes down. The next variable is frequency. So now we just talked about volume and intensity and how stressful this is on the athlete. The last thing you're going to do is now perform ladder drills every day as a result. So I would recommend that utilizing a ladder like this, especially if it's barefooted, you should probably only utilize it every 2 to 3 days. If your athletes are experiencing soreness, I would wait at least 1 or 2 days after the soreness subsides before you start doing the ladder again. In addition to a ladder just being straight ahead, another variable is you can change the pattern of the ladder. So we're going to show on this today that you can actually fold the ladder over and make it into an L. You can get a number of ladders and make it into a square. So think outside the box. It doesn't just mean as a coach the ladder is only one movement and that's it. There are so many different ways that you can use it, and by changing direction, not only does it increase variety and stimulus to the athlete, but it really stimulates their mind to continue to enjoy the exercise. And then finally, today we're also going to show that the ladder is not just lower body activities. You can also perform a number of upper body activities on them as well. So there are a number of different variables that you have to follow when you use the ladder. Like any piece of equipment, it is often way more complex than you think. And it's not what I believe that you know that's going to make you successful. It's finding out the things you don't know that can make you great. I hope you enjoyed everything that we've gone through so far and it's changed how you thought about using the ladder. Now we're going to get into the exercises, and remember, great posture, great performance is going to equal success on the field and injury prevention. The first running exercise we're going to show off is 2 feet in every box. It's essentially a quick step drill, and what we're going to do is keeping the hands at the hips, we're going to brush them open along the sides of the hips, and the toe is going to stay dorsiflexed, pull up over the ankle, and each foot is going to land in each box one time, and then the athlete is going to move forward. Bobby and Brandon are going to show these off right now. The next exercise is high knees, 2 feet in each box. Now we're going to have the arms at 90 degrees, the hands open, but there's going to be way more amplitude with the arms to match the much higher position of the knee. So we're looking, coaches, for almost getting that knee parallel with the ground. Toes are still going to be pulled up, landing on the balls of the feet, but this is going to be now much more explosive and aggressive as the athletes pass through the game speed ladder. This exercise is called the low knee, 1 foot in each box. Now, again, like the quick step, we're going to travel forward faster. So now we're going to move our hips forward faster. The effective stride length is going to change, but we're still going to keep low knee drive, landing on the balls of the feet, hands brushing by the hips, but now 1 foot is going to land in each box. So we're going to move through the ladder faster, but now, instead of 2 feet in each box, it's just going to be 1. This exercise is called the high knee, 1 foot each box, where now again we're going to higher amplitude, fuller arm action, knees coming up parallel to the ground, toe pulled up, landing on the balls of the feet. We're going to be more explosive, and now each foot is only going to land in 1 box at a time. Skipping is another fundamental exercise that you can work with your athletes using the game speed ladder. This next exercise is called the high knee skip, 1 foot in each box. Now remember, some of your athletes might have trouble skipping, so make sure they still have the opposite arm, opposite leg relationship, arms at 90 degrees, hands open, leg parallel to the floor, and the toes pulled up. Right now, the guys are going to show this one off. The next skipping exercise is called the side skip with 2 feet in each box. Once your athletes have skipping down pat, now we can start skipping laterally, which is more challenging, but it's something that athletes need to work on. So right now what the guys are going to perform is they're going to face in that direction and they're going to skip, leading with the right foot in and then the left into each box as they move. Again, arms are at 90 degrees, knees are up, toes are pulled up. Let's see this one in action. The final skipping exercise is called a side skip. In the first 2 skipping exercises, we kept a very narrow base of support, but that's not always what happens in sports. So now, the guys are going to actually place their feet outside the ladder and now use skipping motions trying to maintain their center of gravity over the ladder, but now having to put forces through the body laterally and forward. Great activity. Again, it works technique. So keeping the arms at 90 degrees, still getting the knees up, and trying to maintain that center of gravity over the ladder. Shuffling drills are great exercises or patterns that not only work on foot speed, but they also address coordination and balance. The first exercise we're going to show off in the shuffles is the 2 foot each box side shuffle. Right here, we're going to almost utilize it like a quick step. The hands are going to stay by the hips. We're going to keep low knee drive, toes pulled up, landing on the balls of the feet. But we're going to move sideways, leading in with the right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, all the way down through the ladder. The Icky Shuffle is probably the most popular exercise there is when it comes to the game speed ladder. But coaches, I implore you, before you get the kids trying to race through this thing as fast as possible, make sure they know how to do it, because for a young athlete that can't do this, mixed in with kids that can, it can be intimidating, and kids then don't like to perform the drill. For the Icky Shuffle, it uses a 3 count. So if I was moving to my left, I'm going to put my left foot in 1, then my right foot in the same box 2, then my left foot out of the box 3. The right foot that's still in a box is now going to move forward for the 1 count again. So 1, 2, 3. And we just repeat that pattern over and over. But what I want to make sure everybody understands too is that the arms, I think of this as an agility drill, so I like to keep the arms out front in kind of an athletic position. I don't like to try to coordinate the arms and legs together, because if your athletes start to look like the robot out on the dance floor, they're now mixing up the coordination between the upper and lower extremities. So try to keep the hands out. This is a foot speed exercise and a drill working patterns with the feet, controlling the center of gravity. Now Bobby's going to perform this one. This shuffle drill is called the crossover shuffle. This one is another pattern that sometimes is difficult for your athletes, but it's got fundamental movements that you've got to be able to perform on the athletic field. If I'm moving left into the ladder, I'm standing with both feet outside the ladder to start. I take my right foot, the outside foot from the ladder, and step inside to the box. Then I step my left foot outside of the box and right foot outside of the box, and then step back in with the left. So I'm gonna cross over in, both out, cross over in, both out. It's another pattern where I like to keep the hands out front for balance and control instead of trying to coordinate the arm movements with this one. Right now, Bobby and Brandon are gonna show it off. This exercise is called the 2 feet in, 2 feet out drill. It's a great shuffle exercise that teaches the athlete to stay low, control their center of gravity over their base of support, and really works on foot speed. The goal to this drill, if we're moving to the right, is to first put the right foot into the box, then the left. Then moving laterally but still controlling my weight, I bring the right foot back out, then left foot out, and then lead back in following that pattern all the way through the ladder. You want to do it as quick as possible, but again, keeping the center of gravity over the ladder and watching the feet move under you. It's almost a 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern. So when you work with your athletes, it should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Almost like a train is what they should be thinking in their head when their feet are moving. Bobby and Brandon are going to show this off now. Hopping exercises are also fantastic for not only developing strength and balance, but also improving the stretch shorten cycle of the lower extremity. You'd be surprised how many of your athletes are going to have trouble hopping through the ladder, so it shows that their balance and control might not be as good as it could be. If you're seeing trouble with that in the ladder, then this athlete might not be yet prepared to be out on the sports field, so this is an excellent exercise to work on. Right now we're going to work on 2-foot bunny hops. So all the athletes are going to do is hop with both feet into each square of the box. But we're going to use the arms a little bit for that plyometric activity to coordinate the arms and the legs when we jump. We're going to make sure that the landings are soft and reactive off of the ground on the balls of the feet. Slalom exercise is a fantastic hopping exercise for now developing lateral agility, but also strengthening the hips and the groin musculature. For this exercise, you're going to begin with 1 foot in the box and 1 foot outside of the box. And as you jump forward, you're going to switch the foot that's in the box and outside, advancing forward through the ladder. We're going to use a little bit of the opposite arm, opposite leg relationship to control that rotation and balance while we do it. We want the athletes to stay light on their feet, keeping the center of gravity low, shoulder blades back, strong back, and keeping fast reactive contacts on the ground. boxer hop is a fantastic exercise now, not just to get the feet hopping under you, but also to coordinate the arm motion as well. Coaches, this exercise is usually difficult for a lot of your athletes. They all of a sudden can't coordinate the opposite arm, opposite leg relationship as well. Really get the athletes to work on this. Now, as a note, if they can't perform the opposite arm, opposite leg relationship, you can let them keep the hands out at front first and just move the legs through the ladder if they have to, and then eventually start to coordinate the opposite arm, opposite leg movement. Right now, though, we're going to show the version with all of the pieces going together, where we're going to use opposite arm, opposite leg. You're going to start with the right foot in the box first because we're going to the right side, and each foot is going to end up in the box before you move on to the next box. Right now, they're going to show it off. This ladder exercise is one of my favorites. It's called the hip rotation hop, where now, like we've talked about on the Change of Direction DVD, great change of direction or great athletes have an ability to disassociate their shoulders from their hips. So if everybody looks, right now my shoulders and hips are facing the same way, but now I turn so that my shoulders are still facing the same way, but my hips are in an opposite direction. This right here is almost essential for throwing, hitting, different motions and movements on the field. Now, we've got Bobby Smith here, who's the Olympic trials winner in the javelin throw. This is an excellent exercise for him to develop that rotation, to create all that torque for powerful, powerful throws. So for this exercise, and it's challenging, this is another advanced exercise, coaches, that many of your athletes might not be able to perform at first. What I'm gonna do is begin with my left foot in one of the boxes, my right foot out. My shoulders are always gonna stay facing forward. And what I'm going to do then is hop in the air and then turn my hips, so now they face into the ladder, but I'm still facing this direction. Then I skip again forward all the way, I skip a box, and now I'm facing both hips and shoulders the same direction again. So what I want to look for is that the hips are actually rotating under the shoulders throughout this, and I'm skipping a box each time with my foot. This next section is going to show off 4 of my favorite exercises for single leg activities. So now that we've gotten through everything being bilateral, what I want to remind all the coaches out there is that sport takes place on one foot. Whether you're jumping and you've got to land on one foot, whether we're running and essentially you're only on one foot at a time when we do that, or cutting or planting or moving, we've got to be able to develop the balance and control on one leg, not just for performance, but also injury prevention. Right now, what Bobby's going to show off is he's going to show off the 1-foot bunny hop. So he performs this by hopping through, staying on one foot the whole time, under control, and passing through. Now Brandon's going to show off the 1-foot zigzag. What he's going to do is hop in, and then out of the ladder, back in and back out of the ladder. Now we're challenging not just his balance moving forward, but also laterally and under control while he keeps his center of gravity over the ladder. And then the next exercise that Bobby's going to perform is the lateral zigzag. So now he's going to hop forward into the box on one foot, out, moving backwards. Because remember, coaches, backwards movements are also going to take place in sport. We've got to be able to develop the control of the center of gravity over the base of support to do that. And then the final exercise that Brandon's going to perform is the 1 foot in, 1 foot out drill, where now he's moving in and out, moving forward through the ladder. So now he's challenging himself side to side and moving forward at the same time. So these exercises are fantastic. Remember, whenever you remove the base of support and make it smaller, you're challenging the body more. So for proprioceptive exercise and definitely injury prevention, these are fantastic. So with the shoes off and now single leg, you're really getting into the greatest drills that you could work on. No pun intended, but a lot of coaches think inside the box when they're working with the ladder. But remember, it's not just with your feet. You can use the hands to do a lot of these exercises too. So for core stability, strength, rotator cuff stability, and control at the shoulder, the ladder can still be a great tool. And why I like the Game Speed ladder is, again, you're not gonna hurt your hands if you land on the ladder. So right now, Bobby's gonna show off the first exercise, and it's just gonna be a side shuffle, but using the hands. So he's gonna get down in push-up position, holding a good pelvic tilt, keeping the core strong. He's just gonna move his right foot hand into the box, and then just moving through, right hand, left hand, right hand, left hand, right hand, left hand, all the way through. Brandon's gonna get down now, and what he's gonna show off is the same thing, but making it a little more difficult. He's gonna cross over. So now he's gonna cross over the left hand, forcing more stabilization and control at his core while he does that. And then the final exercise is now we're gonna use that 2 in, 2 out drill, but we're gonna use our hands to do it. So Bobby's gonna move 2 in, 2 out, 2 in, 2 out, 2 in, 2 out. So right there, you're really working stability, strength of the forearms, the triceps, the shoulders, but also the core. Another great activity, and again, coaches, think outside the box. You can do so many great exercises with this ladder. It's just another fantastic vehicle to get kids exercising. Try these out, and I'm sure they're gonna pay big dividends for shoulder strength and decreased injury.